In my previous video, I showed you how I built this floating wall-mounted vanity. Today I'm going to show you how I installed the wall faucet, and most of all, how I installed the plumbing for the drain pipe. There are 3 parts you'll need when installing a new sink drain, and I'll link all the parts I use below if you want to take a closer look. First, you'll need a P-trap kit. Some kits will also include a P-trap adapter, otherwise you can buy the adapter separately. And lastly, you'll need the pop-up drain assembly for your sink. If you have a brand new vanity like me, the first step is to make the hole in the vanity top. To mark the hole placement, I lined up my laser level with the faucet rough-in and used a speed square to make sure I was square with the vanity. Ideally, you want the center of the faucet aligned with the drain hole as shown here. So to figure out the distance, I referred to my faucet spec sheet and found the distance from the center of the spout to the wall. I could then mark the location for the drain hole measuring from the wall. To make the hole, I used a hole saw slightly larger than the diameter of my sink's drain hole, and slowly drilled my way all the way through the vanity top. I placed the sink onto the vanity and tested out the drain to make sure everything fit. To ensure a watertight seal, I'm applying a bead of silicone all around the drain pipe. Make sure to use 100% silicone like this one and apply a generous bead before dropping the drain into the sinkhole. From underneath the sink, I'm applying more silicone to the threads, but even better would have been to apply the silicone to the threads on the rubber ring I'm about to install. This would have made it a lot easier to screw onto the pipe. All the pieces that I'm connecting to the drain here come with a pop-up assembly that either comes with your sink or is purchased separately as a kit. Next, just as per the assembly diagram, I'm adding the plastic ring and a nut that I'll simply hand tighten, and then give it another quarter turn using some slip joint pliers to tighten it up. Once everything is fully tightened underneath, you'll want to make sure to wipe off any silicone squeeze out from the drain and the sink using a clean damp rag. Okay, I can now attach the last part of the pop-up drain assembly, which includes a rubber ring that'll create a seal with this smooth metal pipe. I'm just going to hand tighten that for now, and I'll come back later with some pliers to tighten everything up. For a new sink installation, you'll typically have a piece of pipe sticking out of the wall like this. In order to connect the P-trap, you'll need a trap adapter that needs to be glued onto the pipe in the wall. Since my pipes are ABS, I'm using ABS cement. Yellow or black will both work here. I simply swab the inside of the trap adapter with some cement and do the same for the outside of the drain, making sure to fully coat both surfaces. Then push on the adapter all the way in, giving it a slight twisting motion, roughly a quarter turn. While that dries, let's take a look at the P-trap kit. All of these parts typically come in the kit: the waste drain, 2 plastic or rubber washers, and 2 slip joint nuts. I'll first show you how to connect the 2 pipes. You simply slip a nut onto the waste drain and slip it into the other pipe. Then hand tighten the nut. No washers are required here. Next, the idea is to slip the P-trap onto the sink drain, but as you can see, both drains aren't the same size. That's why the kit comes with 2 different size washers. You'll note one of them is much too loose, but the other one fits just right. It's also important to note the orientation of the washer when using slip joints. Make sure the tapered side is facing whatever you're trying to connect to. Okay, so now that I've explained that, I can go ahead and slip on a nut followed by a washer. Now I can put on the P-trap, but as you can see, the waste drain is too long for my setup, so I'm going to need to cut it first. For demonstration purposes, I've taped off how far in the drain will go just to show you how much pipe continues behind the wall. I want to keep some of that length, so I'm going to factor that into my cut. I've repositioned the tape to where I want to cut, and I'm using my hacksaw here to saw the pipe to length. Okay, I'm now ready to attach the waste drain to the trap adapter, but first I'll need to slip on a few parts, starting with a slip joint nut facing towards me, then another nut facing towards the wall, and lastly the remaining washer tapered side towards the wall. But wait, my P-trap adapter came with its own slip joint nut that eliminates the need for a washer, so I'm going to replace the parts that came with the kit with this one. I can now go ahead and slip that in and loosely tighten it so it can be repositioned later on if needed. I can now position the trap and connect the slip joint nuts on each end, again loosely tightening and adjusting the parts as needed to make sure everything lines up without stressing any of the joints. If your parts don't line up and you find yourself forcing a connection, you'll likely end up with a leak. Once everything is aligned, I can hand tighten all of the nuts. After that, I'll use some slip joint pliers to tighten them up a little more so that they're nice and snug, making sure not to over tighten. Okay, so before I can test the P-trap for leaks, I need to install my wall faucet. The process is pretty simple, but the only thing I'll point out here is to make sure to file off the end of the copper pipe to eliminate any sharp edges that might damage the O-rings inside the faucet. Then it's just a matter of pushing the faucet into place and using the Allen key to tighten it up from underneath. The handle goes on very similarly, simply pushing on the sleeves first. The fit can be really tight though, so it helps to use a synthetic lubricant on the O-rings to help the sleeves slide into place. Again, I use the Allen key provided to tighten down the handle before covering up the hole with the cap. So moment of truth. Sweet! Now while I'm excited that the faucet is working, I'm gonna let the faucet run and check the drain for leaks. Okay, everything looks good so far, so I'm going to put it to the test now by filling up the sink and letting it drain out. I don't see any leaks here, which is really great, but if you did have a leak, try tightening the leaky joint a little before testing it out again. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching!